Hey, my name is Nick with Statedwoods Co. and Phantom CNC dealer. Today in this video, I want to show you how to replace your master switch if you ever have a problem with it. This is your main power switch for your CNC, and they're all identical across all of our series. No matter if you have the big standalone unit like I have here on the T or the TIs, or you have the smaller power pack on the S's, the SCRs, or the SC44 series. Now, why would this power supply switch ever go out? Well, there's a couple different reasons why. Think of this switch like a surge protector. This is your first line of defense if you ever have a lightning strike or a power surge. The biggest thing to protect your CNC from lightning storms or electrical surges is to make sure that you have things disconnected, especially in the summer months where you know thunderstorms can pop up very quickly. This is why when new customers come to me about their wiring for their machines, I always tell them to put a plug on the CNC itself. Don't ever hardwire it, because you want to have that ability to disconnect it from power to save you from problems like this. If you ever go on vacation for an extended period of time, make sure to unplug this. You spend a lot of money on a CNC, don't let lightning take your unit. Now let's say worst case scenario, you did experience a lightning strike or a power surge and your master button no longer works. Well, we're gonna swap it out right now. Your CNC came with one extra contactor. If you don't have any more, reach out to Phantom, we'll overnight you one. But for now, let's go use this extra one that we had and go ahead and swap it out. First thing to do is make sure that your CNC is unplugged from power. Now, a lot of people don't realize that when you unplug your machine from electrical or you turn it off, the VFD and the drives are still holding power through their capacitors. And I'll show you this right here. We've now cut the power to the machine again, and this VFD is still hot, and the charge buttons on all of these drives are red. So that means that those capacitors are holding that current and it's taking time for them to dump. So make sure that everything is completely shut off in your machine before you start messing with that plug. Now that you know that power is disconnected, it's safe to go ahead and swap out this contactor. Each line going into this contactor is labeled, but what I would suggest doing is going ahead and taking a photograph of it so that you know exactly how it came apart when it comes time to putting it back together. The first thing I like to do is actually remove this little back cover by just lifting it off with a screwdriver. So now all you have to do is loosen these screws to disconnect each of the wires from this contactor. Now you can remove this whole contactor as one unit and do this without it being mounted onto the base, but I like to keep it connected to the unit itself. That way it's a lot easier to deal with. What you'll do is you'll just pull out your wires from each contactor, and these are the wires that you want to make sure that you get correct in the right orientation each time. That's where your photograph is going to come in really handy. Now, to actually remove the contactor from the button itself, you're going to lift up on this little red tab, and that's going to disengage from the button itself. Most of the time, this is where your problem lies. The contactor in here has either gotten gummed up or electrical impulses cause it to have a disconnect, and this is what's causing your problem. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go ahead and remove the whole system so that you can just swap it all out at one time. There's a lock screw on the inside of this that you'll just twist and loosen and take all the way off. And now we can remove this button and start to install the new switch. You don't have to worry about orientation when you're putting this contactor back onto the button. There's only one way that it can go on. This is where you want to make sure that your wires are going back in the right orientation. So it's good to reference that photograph we took a few minutes ago to make sure that all the wires are going back in the exact same position. All right, after just a few minutes of putting that on, we're ready to roll. Let's go fire it up and make sure she works. Works perfectly. So now what I recommend is you always have an extra one of these on hand. So reach out to Phantom CNCs, or you can reach out to me directly. My information is in the description below. We'll be able to overnight you one if you ever have a problem. It's nice to have one of these on hand in case lightning ever strikes again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. And until next time, I'll see you on the next video. Let's get back to work.